And we are live. Hopefully, you guys are having a great day. It is Will. If you guys haven't joined us before, we're going to be doing our stock talk today, where we normally do a breakdown of some stocks for the upcoming week. Just a friendly reminder, if you guys see the background, it looks pretty crazy. I just got done. It doesn't look like I made that much progress, but I moved this setup in here so that we have the background on this remodel for this apartment that we're remodeling before we rent it out. And essentially, I actually knocked out some more cabinets. There, you can't really tell since the last video, but it looks a little better. It should be done here very soon, and then appliances next. So stick with me there. And as we jump in for this week, we're going to do some analysis. I actually got to be leaving soon. It's going to be a short one today because I want to go have some dinner with some family this evening. So let's jump in. We're going to do a breakdown of some stocks. If you guys have ticker symbols, drop them down below. Marty says, get there. And I see Boris is in the chat, and we see, hey, Will, just started watching you about a month ago. Happy to have you here. What's going on? What's going on? Okay, we're going to jump in. Cameron says, what do you think will happen to AMD and United Health given the recent news? Yeah, let's take a look at it and we'll see what it's like. And William says, make sure you rent the place at an affordable price. We'll make sure. I'm not. It's not for money. Actually, it's a property that I'm actually doing the remodel. It's not even myself. It's actually income for what will be my parents. They went to their property. They have a lot going on. They're getting a little bit older. So I'm came up, remodeled the place, rented out one apartment for them, and then remodeled another place for them here. And then it's basically going to cover all of their living expenses. So Cameron says AMD and United Health. That's a really interesting one. Jump in. I believe it's definitely oversold. I just read some news that just based on their financials and everything that's happening, they are very oversold. And also their chart, number 2 or 3. And the reason AMD is up there, I got long-term positions on AMD, and we also trade AMD pretty consistently, especially AMDL, because it is a 2x of AMD. And really, they've had this consistent trend for about 3 months. You could see from April, it's been very consistent in between these levels on its recovery from a low of $75 up into about $128 currently. And if we go back a year or even further, it's interesting to see their market cap build. They have more data centers. Their revenue has doubled basically year over year, if not more. They were beating their earnings. Profit margins were exceeding that of what most expectations of all investors. And they were still selling off. But because of the sell-off, we've had them as a top pick. They just recovered after selling off for the last really a little bit over a year, despite having great earnings. And now they're pushing above this 200-day moving average. The 200-day moving average is oftentimes a support in a bullish environment, and it's been below that. And we just saw it break above. The technical analysis, slightly more advanced than usual, because usually when we're looking at an uptrend, it's support and resistance, and that's it. There is this bearish outlook on the market potentially, and that's why I'm actually quite anticipating some sell-offs and possibly some distribution in the next week or so, because every time the market, we get really excited, everything's going really good. There's something that went on, right? We figured out some of the tariffs, and then what's going on now? You have the Iran bombing and the new scarcity that gets injected into the market. And we haven't seen reactions just yet, but we could see some sell-off. So AMD stock, and there you got Stevens, CYBL, Juan is in here, and we'll take a look. And it's possible we see those sell-offs. However, there is this attention that should be given to AMD. Partnered with Starlink, so providing the semiconductors and the chips for the satellites. And also they have huge revenues from data centers, And this is the trend. They have this uptrend, but there's also this smaller trend inside this uptrend that is kind of like this, right? You have this resistance level, resistance, and then it was acting as a support, resistance, resistance. And now I know it's near the top, and it's possible AMD it sells back down into that $120 range. It's possible, and we could see that, especially if it starts to break below $126 a share. But what we're looking for here is, at least I'm looking for, this hyper bullish trend where this previous resistance level, this rising resistance level, starts to act as a support, and we get to see continuation on AMD. And the type of continuation we're looking for is this swing, this move up into these levels. I'm quite bullish on it. I know that the chart's looking weird there, but most investors, they see AMD as, what is it, the advanced money destroyer? Is that what people call it nowadays? I see it as an advanced money duplicator. I think it's one of the top underrated companies. And I think that that's one of the moves I'm going to look for, is actually this 10 to 15% breakout into these levels, if not up into this $136 range. But again, we're going to see some volatility, most likely at market open, maybe even a sell-off at market open. So just be ready for something like that, as that's quite common when we have the news come out. Now, the next ticker symbol we had here is going to be HO. Oh, actually, the other one was UNH. Is it UNH? United. Is it UNH stock? There it is. United Healthcare stock. United Health Group. $273 billion valuation. You start to see their PE ratio just drop to 12. Look at that. So they're really starting to look undervalued. And we talked about the values of UNH, how I don't normally invest in anything related to healthcare, sometimes because of some of the, in my experience, lack of integrity in some of the industry. However, when you look at the valuations, you look at the for you other than just be careful. Sometimes when it's selling down, that is just be careful. Sometimes when it's selling down, that is like you could be catching a falling knife if there's not more confirmation. So I would look for more confirmation and a continuation above this EMA, getting up into that $315 range to $320 range would be what we look for. Got it. Okay. And we got Michael says, hey, thanks for taking the time. Can you take a look at Rocket Lab? Yeah, let's do that. So RKLB stock, a couple things to note on the company. We looked at their financials here. The market cap's been growing pretty significantly, and their quarterly revenues have been growing. When we're looking at a space tech company, the last thing you would expect is that it's going to continue to see growth. I know that's contrary to what most people think, but when it comes to the space tech industry, it's been more of a place where it's research. It's more of a, let's see what they could do. And it's been kind of stagnant for the last few years until just recently, really starting to see big growth. The revenue's up to almost $500 million, and their balance sheet has been building as well, with their total assets now up to $1.1 billion. So when we look at RKLB, we'll head over to our space tech watch list. RKLB is last projected, it looks like we were saying they would make this move up into this $32 range. Since then, they actually did make a 10% move from this level. So they've made a 10% swing, and the next target here is going to be up into this level up here. They are looking a little overbought, a little bit overextended on the RSI. And also you see the resistance level here at $30 a share. So Rocket Lab has been launching for a lot of companies. Their satellites, they're very, very well established. They have very good institutional holdings. more increased positions than decreased positions, indicating that companies like JP Morgan, you got BlackRock, Vanguard, they've been really adding to their capital positions in Rocket Lab. So the institutional interest is there for sure, and we'll just continue to watch there. But I definitely like Rocket Lab here in a breakout, but potentially what would be more likely to happen, just like looking at the overall direction, they've had this consistent uptrend for the past few weeks here. Let's see what it looks like. We'll go year to date. You see this continued uptrend. It's possible we see them push higher, but what might be more likely is a sell down now that we see, actually we already see it here at market open. So markets just opened up. You could see some of the movement. So we just go to after hours, and we already see RKLB selling down here about 2.8%. I was just saying, that's funny, I was just about to say this, and we could see it sell down here to a billion-dollar company, but they still are under that $1 billion in revenue. Their financials, they look okay, but they did have a fair amount of liabilities on their balance sheet, about 800 million. So their liabilities did increase a lot more than that of their assets. So the balance sheet looks okay. On RKLB, long term, I'm going to hold my Rocket Lab. Short term, I think it would make sense that we see them sell down into these levels around $24 somewhere in here. Could make sense for RKLB as they've got this trend going for them. Really nice. Really nice. So 2 more, and then I think we got a roll here, guys. The next one that we had was Big Bear AI. So we've done a fair amount of coverage on BBAI, and it's a stock that has a lot going for it. Someone commented the other day and they said, Will, what's going on with RKLB's recent moves with their with the airports that they're getting into? And now we see them sell back down. You can see them here. We're expecting some of this sell-off here in the markets right now. SPY starting off red, and they're selling down into this range. You can see them down at 370 somewhere in here. This is a level at which we got to watch, because a break in pattern could happen if we see them break this level. The level at which they have a fair amount of support. And again, just the technical side. The fundamentals have looked really good. Their contracts have looked really good. But the technical side, you got this resistance here and the support level. Resistance right here back in March, resistance in April, and resistance here in June. And that's where they are. That's kind of where they are right now. So it's a key level. We want to see them hold it and maybe even consolidate. And so tomorrow morning at market open, I want to know if this is the type of move we potentially see. This is the bounce here. If this previous resistance and support is validated, then we could potentially see Big Bear bounce at that $3.60, $3.65 range and get back up into these $4, $4.40 ranges. And that's the type of bounce that would be a bullish sentiment, kind of continuing their overall uptrend. Now, if we see them break below here at this $3.60 price point, see them sell off more, then for Big Bear at least, that would be some technical breaks and pattern. Now, there we go. You know, there's some green in some parts of the market, but there you go. You got some of that red kicking in, and that's exactly why I made the thumbnail red before we started this video, because I was expecting things to turn red. And shout out to Yoga, our team member. He's been making amazing thumbnails. You guys have been saying the thumbnails are cool, so appreciate it. Otherwise, it would just be probably this screen for the thumbnail. So the other side of this is, how do we play the market and make money when these things happen? You know, Big Bear, for example, it's a long-term play. They got increased positions there. The very scan that they have come out with here in their solutions when it comes to their the digital identity, the facial recognition here, the true face, and the very scan. It's making its way into hundreds of airports at the moment, and it's looking really good for them, and their contracts are looking good. But when you look at the overall market direction, when you have a war like this with the that could hit the markets here, the key move for at least how I may allocate some of the shorter term capital will be towards those positions in which we can potentially play some of the downside. So what does that look like? For example, like let's say that like I would imagine that we'll see some SOXL hits or something like that, meaning semiconductors. So if we go to SOXL is with the semiconductor market, and it's been in a very nice trend. It's made up of all semiconductors. So Taiwan Semiconductor, you have definitely Nvidia, you got AMD in there, but you have Broadcom, you have Supermicro, but you have, or not even Supermicro, you have Micron Technology, you have what's that other one that we don't really cover that much that we should cover more? Forget what it's called, but basically it'll come to me. But basically, when we're looking at this level here, it's kind of like Nvidia stock. It was one of our top stocks we just covered, but when I was covering, I was saying, look at the highs right now. The highs are up there at previous highs. Nvidia is at previous highs. We take a step back, you can look at it. It made that V-shaped recovery, but we're at previous highs. So the conservative approach could be a sell down before we really see the rally continue. So with that in mind, with what's happening, you got the bombing over there, you got some Middle East tensions building, and potential some investor sentiment going down on the bearish sentiment potentially. What does that mean? Well, if Nvidia is overextended, possibly seeing some of Taiwan Semiconductor looked overextended. SOXL, we back up, it looks a little overextended. It's up there on that RSI. So what do? I'll usually, at least at market open, I'll be watching SOXS tomorrow morning. And SOXS, essentially, it's like, this is tariffs. This was 143% swing around the tariffs. There's this right here. Some of the biggest moves when the market dips, SOXS has a day. So I think we actually already had a target here for SOXS. I'm going to watch it tomorrow morning. It looks like it already kind of played out there. It did recover a little bit, made some of that run. But really, we could see, I think, that swing upwards, get into these levels. We're looking at a margin for profit of 5 to 10% today or tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow, because tomorrow's Monday. And we'll look for something like that, or even some of these spikes when market panic hits and you see a sell-off. SOXS has that 30 to 50 to 100% swings. It's higher risk, so it does require a plan. However, that's the type of progress that we'll have to see how it develops as market opens tomorrow. And guys, I got to get going here. If you want to join us in the live session tomorrow, it's the second link in the description to join Stockmates. So we do trade there live every morning at market open. We'll be there. Get an email reminder in the morning, and you'll also get our targets for the week and watch me trade live every single day. It's not a subscription if you don't want it to be, and it's a huge discount there if you want to see us. And I would encourage you to simply take a look. Second link below. Thanks so much. I hopefully earned your thumbs up. I know it's a shorter session than usual, and I encourage you guys to subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next live stream. All right, take care, guys. See you. Have a good rest of your week.